Okay guys, welcome to another episode of Tighter Muscle and Mind. This is the Friday wrap up. Thank you for joining us, Facebook Live followers. Today I've got Jen. It's her first time on Tighter Muscle and Mind, and she'll be here every week with me answering questions. And this week we're going to talk about the top 6 inflammatory causing foods. Jen is going to talk about her story with foods that have caused gut issues with her, and we're going to talk about the importance of why gut health is so important to stress, to work efficiency, pretty much to everything. I mean, they talk about the gut is connected to the brain. Now, tell us a bit about your story, Jen.
Well, my story kind of started obviously when I first started training. So I noticed that I was going hell for leather with everything I was doing. I was doing HIIT every day. I was doing lots of functional training. I discovered weight training and started weight training on top of all of that. I was doing my best to eat super well, so I was prepping and eating meticulously the same foods over and over again. And then I started to notice that I was, some things weren't agreeing with me, and it sort of led me down this path to research the gut. I think there's been, in recent years, a lot of media covering the gut and how important it is for our health. Previously, heart health and brain health have really shone the light as being the most important parts of our body to look after. But I think in recent times, there's a lot more evidence and research to show that the gut is the number one focus now. If you think about it, anything that you put into your body hits your gut first. And there have been studies to show now that the gut is responsible for 90% of our serotonin, which is the happy hormones in our brain. So all of this really started to appeal to me, and I decided to look into it more. Yeah,
and you're a part of the challenges here at Tighter Fitness, and which is a massive part of what we do here. But you mentioned also that the 6 foods.
Yes,
you
definitely.
said soy, gluten, dairy, corn, MSG, and sugar.
Yes.
Now, is MSG in a lot of things? Is it in everything? Or?
MSG is in a lot of foods. So for those of you who don't know what it is a chemical that's commonly used to replace a salty, meaty flavor. So it's really popular in Asian cuisines as well. It's just really toxic on the body because it's so foreign. When I first discovered these 6 foods, well, it took me a while actually, but through my research and my readings and listening to other podcasts and reading different books, I came across this list of the 6 foods because they're either the most modified and processed now, like corn, for example, is heavily genetically modified. It's a crop that feeds the world, feeds our livestock animals, our agriculture industry, it feeds people, and it's a cheap one to make. So we have genetically modified corn to be able to grow fast, harvest it quickly, and for it to grow bigger. And on top of that has an inflammatory effect on our body. And further to that, corn has become so processed now with high fructose corn syrups, corn flours, corn starches, and all these extractants from the original food or vegetable itself, so that it is like a foreign toxin to our body. And similar to that's like refined sugars. It's just not natural to go from cane sugar all the way to sugar syrups and white sugars. And then on top of that, processed soy as well. So soya typically is quite processed, like soy emulsifiers, soy lecithins, things like that.
And like if you look at the ingredients of most foods, when you go to Coles, Woolworths, or any of those department stores, you see all those ingredients is in a lot of the foods our kids are eating. So that creates food intolerances and allergies to foods later on in your life too, doesn't it?
I mean, I've actually heard this really crazy statistic that 46% of the children in Australia today have an autoimmune deficiency. So that's almost 1 in 2 have asthma or some sort of autoimmune disease because of the foods that we're eating just not being what they used to. And we say when we have clients come on board with us to cut out processed packaged foods, not just because they're not healthy, but if you think about it coming in a packet, like a cookie or a muesli bar or something like that, they often contain high refined sugars. They often contain gluten or a soy emulsifier or something like that as well. And it's just something that, going back to our ancestors as being hunter-gatherers, if you want to talk about what the foods we used to be eating millions of years ago, gluten, foods like pasta, rice, bread. We never used to hunt bread. That's something we've made in more recent years. So it's still been thousands of years, but having said that, it's not the same. So
the only reason I'm laughing is the way she says years. Guys, make a comment on the way she says years, guys. I'm going to make you say years a few more times.
But
it's so true, and the reason we started doing this Friday podcast was originally for our challenges and members, but a lot of the things that we're going to discuss here is pretty much going to be for everyone. I mean, food is a massive part of our lives, and we want to be able to know that these 6 foods cause inflammation, but we also want to know that those foods also can really inhibit the way we do everything in life.
Definitely. So I think when you start a new program, whether it's a 40-day challenge or a 12-week or whatever you're doing, the first thing you need to do is get your gut health in check. Your gut wall is actually 400 square meters. Our skin, for example, is only like 20 or something like that. So for your body to actually absorb the nutrients from the great foods you're now eating, your gut lining needs to be in check. So first things first, getting your gut health sorted is important, and just being mindful of it. When you have a high protein diet for too long and you're not eating the right carbohydrates, protein in the gut can turn into ammonia and cause all other kinds of problems and toxins as well. And similarly, you find people, when they're new to something like this, they'll find something that works for them, like chicken and broccoli or chicken and sweet potato or whatever, and they just cook that every week. And they think they're eating vegetables and eating right, but really what happens is in our gut, we've got 10 times more bacteria than we do in our entire body. And if you are always eating the same food, that bacteria is only ever used to processing the same food, and you can actually build up an intolerance to it. So I actually had one of our challenges contact
you were
me
saying before
this week.
about the eggs and the broccoli.
So she was saying, I'm eating really clean, I'm choosing the foods provided, but I'm still finding that I'm quite bloated, and she was feeling quite gassy. And I had a look at her food, and she was having eggs every day, which is great. But on top of that, she was eating broccoli, and I said, broccoli, cauliflower, those vegetables are quite gassy. And for people who do have irritable bowels or too much eggs, it can have the same effect. On top of that, with the 40-day challenge, she'd been eating that repetitively. So it's really important not only to eat the right foods, but to make sure you're cycling through them, so your body's becoming acceptable to these nutrients.
You've got to get a variety of the right foods.
Exactly.
So your body doesn't build intolerances to them, because when you look, the reality is you can't stick to eggs and broccoli, right?
Exactly.
Forever. So you're better off having a bit of everything in order to be able to not have those food intolerances and be able to have the lifestyle that you really want.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it's kind of like going back to the oldest trick in the book, to eat a balanced diet. Even these 6 inflammatory foods, things like gluten, soy, people say, but I can't cut out gluten forever. To some extent, we are all a little bit gluten intolerant.
100%.
It is hard for us to digest, but by no means you have to cut it out forever. So something that I've been working on for our Titan Fit 40 challenges is actually a 10-day reset that they can do at any time, which you will get if you join our challenge. It's free, and it's an additional extra. And what that is a 10-day reset to just reset the bowels, reset the gut, and flush these foods out of the body.
You were talking about before, people that just stick to high protein diets, the high protein, high fat diet. And before you're on a vegan diet as well.
Yes.
And you're talking about how you lost a lot of weight, but you also lost a lot of energy. Now, I know that our cameraman Jules, is he really a vegan? Because he's a pescatarian, he's not a vegan. So you can't really call him a pure vegan.
No.
So, look, a lot of people in the challenges, and a lot of people say, I'm following the vegan, or I'm doing the high fat, high protein. I was listening to a podcast the other day. To do the keto diet, you've got to eat 75% fat.
Macros,
And they go, to get that perfect is extremely hard. And they said, don't even try and venture there. Now, a lot of people are talking about ketosis and all that, and they've got the ketones, and they're saying they're adding the ketones so you don't have to do the high fat, high protein diet. Because if you add the ketones, you go to ketosis.
That's a marketing gimmick.
That's
right
a marketing.
there.
Okay, beautiful. Because that's what because that's what I believe as well. And they're saying, well, you don't have to do that. you can just take these ketones to get into that zone.
So my opinion, there's two things on that. So ketosis is really great for fat loss, but you have to have a super disciplined client who's going to be able to stick to that.
Yeah.
It takes about 2 weeks to get into ketosis, and if you slip up, there's no going back, you're out.
Yeah.
And then you got to start again.
Yeah.
You know, you put someone on a clean diet, they have a cheat meal, it's okay, you keep going.
Yeah.
Ketosis, you'll never get there, you'll never get that result if you're not actually in ketosis. On the flip side of that, one of our challenges, she was super disciplined, did ketosis for 8 weeks, has thyroid damage, hasn't had a period in 3 months. It's not a really good thing for women to do for a long period of time.
Yeah.
So ketosis is one that you need to have a trainer, someone really, you know, knowledgeable in that field, who's going to guide you through it and taper and adjust according to your body and how you're responding to it. And with regards to ketone supplements, like if you do a test, you can go to the pharmacist and get a test to see if you're in ketosis. It's a P test. If you're taking ketone supplements and excreting them in your urine, it's going to say you're in ketosis, even if you're not, because you're taking them and then excreting them. So to my knowledge, those supplements can be used for energy because ketones are energy, but you're better off actually eating things like raspberries and things like that for the ketones. So
100%.
If you really were, like, I do think ketosis is a great diet, but for very short term, good for comp prep in certain cycles. And on the flip side of that, I've done the vegan diet as well. So my advice to anyone would be, if you've read a really compelling study or an article or a podcast, go read 10 more and then make up your assumptions.
See the pros and cons of it.
Yeah, definitely.
Because like if you're on the vegan diet, right, it's very high in carbs.
Yes.
Right? So if you're to bring that the carbs down, it's not that easy.
Yeah.
You know, and obviously for you it worked well, but you're having fish as well.
I did start eating fish again as well. So when I did the vegan diet, I did have really good results. I was really lean through my stomach. I felt super shredded, but I did lose quite a bit of strength. I wasn't able to lift as heavy, which is something that's important to me. I also felt that I wasn't getting enough variety in my food, so I did start to incorporate fish again, and really slowly eggs and chicken. So I definitely think the vegan diet can work, but you've got to make sure you're not having too much soy. Tofu every day, soybeans on top of carbs, especially for women, and what the phytoestrogens do to our bodies. So soy is really high in phytoestrogens. It can cause us to actually retain water and put on weight. And we find that in soy proteins, soy, like tofu, and that's something that people just aren't as aware of. So like in the challenges, obviously we've taken all that into account. Yeah, definitely. And we've wanted to make more of a balanced lifestyle for people to continue throughout the whole year and to make progress throughout the whole year, rather than trying to make these big weight losses in each challenge. We said, you know what, let's do 7. Let's get them progressing throughout the whole year. Let's learn more about them and the foods that they like and what we can keep adding. I think that's the best way where you can actually help people, rather than learn more about them. Because the reality is there's foods that I'm going to like that you're not going to like. There's foods that you're going to like that I'm not going to like. And so, and look, we do a similar thing where we sort of backload with our carbs. Which has worked really well, which works really well with me, because I feel like I get hungry at the second half of the day. And I know it's something you've been doing. Can you tell us a bit about that? So I have been carb backloading. I actually do train in the morning. So what I do is I try and time my carbs around my workout, but then I'll eat all my carbohydrates in the later part of the day. So I did this particularly when I was working in corporate, because I would find that in the morning, I'm an energetic person. Naturally, our circadian rhythm will wake us up. The sun is up, and cortisol can spike in the morning. So I've got energy in the morning, and I would crash in the afternoon. And then I would peak again at night, and I wouldn't be able to sleep. So I'd be tired but wired. And what I found was, if I was training in the morning, I'd have carbs just after my workout, and then no carbs until later in the day. And that would help me sleep. So having carbohydrates in the evening can help to down-regulate cortisol. It can help to improve sleep, and it also fuels my workout at 5 a.m. the next day, because I've had carbs at dinner time. So I think that the more you get to know someone, like we do know our challenges, the more able we are to help them make these choices. So with our menu, you can choose when you have your carbs, and we encourage people and guide them to make those choices around training. It's definitely not something that we cut out of the program.
Now, we mentioned sleep, and that's why you're having the carbs later at night. How important is sleep to fat loss?
Sleep is detrimental to fat loss.
So you mean not sleeping?
Not sleeping, yeah. So you can have...
Not sleeping.
Yeah, so you have to sleep. Like, you can have the best diet and the best training program, but if your body's not resting and recovering, it's not going to do its thing because it's going to work so hard to just function. Yeah. So that's why I really encourage rest days on our program. You don't do too much HIIT because, like we said, that's a stress, which we'll get to in a moment. But your body needs to be able to down-regulate its cortisol, recover. Muscle recovery is important so that you can actually perform your best in the gym. And also, if you're not sleeping and you're highly stressed, your body's going to be in a stress state. And the stress chemical cortisol is made by our adrenals, which is situated in our belly, and it can actually contribute to visceral fat around our stomach. So you might feel that you're leaning out everywhere else and you've been going for 12 weeks and you're exhausted, but you've just got this little pouch, and that can also be from stress. Now, we're talking about stress, right? And the foods that can cause inflammation, which is obviously a cortisol and your stress levels going up. But there's also good stress, isn't there? Like pushing yourself in the gym or pushing yourself to better yourself or become a better version of yourself, which is a good stress because you're getting out of your comfort zone. But it's not necessarily the one where the foods are causing that. But, we were touching on HIIT training. And how you can easily overtrain in that. Now, they talk about your gains are made in recovery. Definitely.
Where you see
I'm
so many people
that
are just pounding themselves hit after hit after hit. And elevating their cortisol levels, not recovering well, probably not on a good diet. And getting so many things wrong, and then just going, well, if I'm trying to get back on track, I just got to keep pounding myself. How often does that happen? You see it a lot.
All the time. I think we want, especially women, we want so bad to have a body to look a certain way, and we just go hell for leather in a HIIT class of 45 minutes or 12-week functional training or whatever. And we feel a lot, especially because women typically, or until recently, haven't trained as heavy and as hard as men. So don't shoot me for saying that, but after a HIIT workout, they're physically exhausted, they're red, they're sweaty, and mentally they think, tick, I've done a really good session. They actually haven't rewired their brain to understand you can achieve better results with strength training, if not the same for fat loss. What happens is, if you think about our bodies, we have a fight or flight response. So our parasympathetic nervous system releases a chemical into our stomach, and in the olden days, that fight or flight response is generated for a quick dash to get out of an emergency situation. You're running for food or you're chasing from a predator or something like that. So when you are HIIT training for 45 minutes and you're creating these chemicals in the body that aren't being fully utilized, we're going to store that. And if you do that every day, it's a stress on the body. If you think about it, it's not normal to be that physically exhausted. Yes, it's great, you've done a session, and I love HIIT. It's so good for fat loss, but it's not the only answer every day. And I think that people need to understand that.
So it's important to at least, like if someone loves it, maybe do 3 classes a week, maybe mix it up with spin, maybe mix it up with, a yoga class, Pilates, or whatever it is, instead of just smashing yourself full pelt. Or if you're going to go into a HIIT class, don't go all out all the time. But you'd never want to do it 6 days a week, would you?
No, definitely. And I think it's, lists, like low intensity, going for a big walk. So that's also just as effective for fat loss. I've been doing a lot of fasted cardio for the month of February for our summer shred, coming up to the end now. So I wanted to accelerate my fat loss, and going for a big walk is also really good for the system, especially in a fasted state. And there's no reason why you can't. 2 HIIT sessions a week is optimal. Plus you could do some HIIT training, some weight training on our program. At the moment, we've got our challenges doing a hypertrophy system, so that's still high rep for fat loss, but it's just getting them out of that HIIT environment, and we really encourage them to walk as well, for big walks.
So there you go. I think we've covered a lot.
Yeah, we've
covered a lot of ground, eh?
So what's the wrap up? 6 inflammatory.
Well, the six foods, guys, that cause inflammation in the body are soy, gluten, dairy, corn, MSG, and sugar. So really, I think a lot of people would know those foods aren't good for you, and I think it's just being aware that when your gut health isn't right, you're going to cause a lot of issues for yourself, and especially with cortisol levels. And you think about it, when you go to work and you don't feel good and you seem stressed out, ask yourself, is your gut health on track?
Yeah.
Because a lot of the times, especially when you're working in corporate jobs, you're going for the fast food delivery because you don't have time. So you're just trying to get the food in, and you're not thinking about thoughtfulness and mindfulness when you eat. So, and it's very important. I know the next challenge you've written about mindfulness, and really thinking about the foods that you're putting in your mouth, not having your phone next to you or having the TV on, and really thinking about how
mindful
you're putting that
eating.
food in. And you slow the digestion process down rather than swallowing it, which I do. So I'm going to have to really take that on board. But, you know, we've got to really understand what foods do.
Yes.
And we really got to look at the problems it's causing in society, especially with obesity, but especially with a lot of, like, I know a lot of people that are sort of getting older and that are around me that are getting these, you know, food intolerances at a later age, which they never had before. So it goes to show what those foods can do. And I know when I have dairy or I have too much sugar, I just feel awful. You know what I mean?
Definitely.
And people have to realise that, and that's why we're trying to get as many people in our challenges and our boot camps, because we've got a really good system. We've got a really good team here at Titan Fitness. We know that, you know, to become the best version of yourself, and I talk about it all the time, it's just to understand all those areas that we work on here at Titan Fitness. And even like when we're together and we do our one-on-ones and we sit down and we talk about each area we want to improve, and consistently and constantly, we're kind of lucky that we've got a team where we can share that knowledge.
Yeah, definitely.
And what we want to do on this Friday wrap-up is about sharing our knowledge with our members and our community on all those areas where we can help them get better as well. So, any wrap up, Jen?
To wrap up, guys,
how did she go, Jules, on her first?
Go to titanfit40.com. That's titanfit40.com. Make sure you register. You'll get a sample of our next challenge, so a free sample ebook, and you will get my 10-day reset for free. So the wrap up will cover the 6 inflammatory foods, how to avoid them, and what to eat for 10 days to reset your entire body, so you can get started on our resolution reboot.
And they can catch you every Friday anyway. So if they got any questions, where can they reach Jen?
So if you have any questions, make sure that you're following us on Facebook and Instagram. I am around, always in the club every day, so feel free to pop in.
Next week we'll talk a little bit about your story. What do you reckon, Jules? We'll grill up about Jen's story and how she started here at Titan Fitness, what she was like.
What she was like?
She was very stiff, guys, very stiff. Her hips were stiff, her mind was stiff, everything was stiff. Now she's smiling, so can you rate her smile? Can you rate her smile? So there you go, guys. Thanks again for all the Facebook Live followers. Until next week, we'll see you then.
Bye.